Have you ever really looked at a flower? I mean, not just glanced at it, but really looked past all the pretty colors and petals? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to peel back those layers and uncover the secret world, a kind of bustling factory built on one simple idea. Everything is about sharing. All right, let's get into it.
So let's start with this question. Is a flower just a pretty face? Is it just some kind of natural decoration, something beautiful for us to look at? We're so used to seeing them that way, right? As these static, beautiful objects. But the truth is, it's so much more dynamic. And honestly, a whole lot more amazing.
So yeah, the answer is a hard no. It's not just a pretty face. A flower is a master of collaboration. Think of it as this incredibly sophisticated operation where every single part has a job to do. And that job almost always involves preparing something, giving something away, or receiving something. It's a factory built entirely on sharing.
And like any great collaboration, it all kicks off with each side getting its own contribution ready. This isn't just some random encounter, it's a carefully planned mission. So first up, let's look at how the male and female parts get ready for the big event.
Okay, so meet the stamen. This is the male part of the flower. You can think of it as the production line of our factory. Its whole mission in life is to create and package up the pollen, this really precious cargo that has to be prepared perfectly for a super important journey.
Now, if we look inside the anther, this is where it gets really interesting. You see these layers? 3 of them are basically for protection, like armor. But that 4th one, the one on the inside called the tapetum, this is our first huge clue. Its entire existence is dedicated to just one thing, sharing. It provides all the food for the developing pollen, basically sacrificing itself to feed the next generation. It's a totally shared nursery.
And all that shared food and energy, it fuels this whole process. Now, it might look a little complex on screen, but it really boils down to this. One single mother cell divides and eventually becomes pollen. But wait, the sharing isn't over. Inside that new pollen grain, another division happens, and this creates 2 male gametes. Now, hang on to that number, 2. It's not just a backup, it is absolutely crucial, and we're going to see why in just a bit.
All right, let's switch gears and look at the other partner in this whole dance, the pistil. This is the female reproductive unit. So if the stamen is the production facility, the pistil is the meticulously prepared destination. Its mission is to create the perfect environment to host the main event.
And wow, look at how well prepared it is. Inside the ovule, we see even more sharing. The nucellus, that's basically a shared food reserve, a pantry that's fully stocked and ready to go. And then you have these things called synergids. These are incredible. They're like little ushers, and they have this chemical GPS system called the filiform apparatus. Their whole job is to share directions and guide the pollen tube right to the perfect spot. They are actively helping out their future partner.
So we've got both sides totally prepped with their contributions. Now it's time for the great exchange. And this isn't just about what's happening inside the flower itself. Nope. It's about forming a partnership with the entire outside world to make this connection happen.
The flower has a couple of strategies for this. It can do what we might call self-collaboration, pollinating itself. That's safe, it's low risk, but you don't get any new genetic material. Or it can go for cross-collaboration, partnering with a totally different plant. Now that's higher risk, but the reward is huge. You get all this valuable genetic diversity from sharing with others.
So how does it actually make that exchange? Well, it hires agents. It can use abiotic agents, things like wind and water. This is kind of an impersonal delivery service. It's free, sure, but it's super inefficient. Or, and this is where things get brilliant, it uses biotic agents. Bees, birds, bats, you name it. This is a targeted delivery service, and the flower pays for it by sharing its resources. It offers up delicious nectar and shows off vibrant colors, all in exchange for the service of pollen delivery. It's a straight-up transaction, a perfect partnership.
Okay, the pollen has arrived, the connection has been made, and now we get to the absolute climax of the story. This is an event so unique to flowering plants, it's like their secret handshake. It's a double commitment, a truly one-of-a-kind and incredibly efficient act of sharing.
Which brings us right back to that question I told you to remember. That pollen grain delivered 2 male gametes. Why 2? Why would you send 2 couriers to deliver 1 package? Is one just a spare? No way. Both of them have a critical and totally different job to do.
This is called double fertilization. So the first gamete does exactly what you'd expect. It fuses with the egg cell. That's syngamy, and it creates the zygote, the little embryo that's going to become the future plant. Mission 1, accomplished. But that second male gamete, it does something absolutely extraordinary. It flies right past the egg and fuses with two other nuclei that are just waiting in the central cell.
This second fusion event, what we call triple fusion, creates a cell with a totally unique genetic signature. It's not diploid like the embryo. It's triploid, or 3N. So what on earth is this for?
Well, its destiny is maybe the most selfless act in this entire story. This triploid nucleus becomes the endosperm. And what's the endosperm? It is the perfect, custom-made, shared food source for its sibling, the embryo. The whole purpose of the second male gamete is to help create a packed lunch for the first one's offspring. Absolutely nothing is wasted. It's the ultimate act of sharing.
And that incredible double commitment is what kicks off the final phase of our story, investing all of that energy, all of that collaboration into the future and sharing it with the next generation. This just shows how that sharing continues right up to the very end. It's all about how that packed lunch, the endosperm, gets used. In some seeds, like wheat, they actually save that shared meal for later. In others, like peas, the embryo just gobbles it all up right away. And the sharing can go even further. In what's called a false fruit, like an apple, other parts of the flower actually pitch in to help build the final package.
But really, the fruit is the flower's final gift. It is one last, grand act of sharing. A sweet, tasty package that's offered up to the world, to an animal, to us, all in exchange for one final favor, carrying that seed to a new home, so this whole collaborative cycle can start all over again.
So when you really look at it this way, the whole story just changes, doesn't it? From that little tapetum cell sharing all its nutrients, to the synergid sharing directions, to the second gamete creating a shared meal for its sibling, all the way to the fruit being shared with the world. Every single part of a flower shares something to create the future.
Which just leaves us with one last thought. If this is the level of selfless collaboration and intricate sharing that's happening inside a simple flower, what other incredible partnerships are we just walking past every single day, totally unaware? What else are we missing?